Hi everyone, thanks for joining me today. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make this fun interactive card, and it's using the stamp set Nothing's Better Than. So it's called a wheel card, I call it, but I know I've heard it called some other things, but that's what I call it. So today's plan: consume coffee, chocolates, cocktails, cookies, because adulting is hard. So when I saw this stamp set, I immediately thought how fun it would be to do something like this. And after a couple of attempts, this is what I came up with. So let me show you the stamp set quickly, and then we'll get going on the card. Here's the stamp set. So it was actually designed by $1 Million sales achiever Connie Stewart, and it's really fun. It's got all these 4 words and then lots of little phrases that you can make up, and using the different words, and then of course the 4 images, and the stamps to color them in with too. So very fun. Here are the matching dies. Of course, this is a bundle that you can save 10% if you purchase the bundle, if you purchase them both together. So we've got the 4 words and the 4 images, and then there's another die that says love you more than, which then you can use in conjunction with some of the other stamps. So anyway, let's get started. So you're going to need a piece of Whisper White that measures 5 3/8 by 4 1/8. And I don't know if you can see, but what I've done is I've actually embossed it with clear embossing. What I did was I took the 4 words that come in the set, chocolate, coffee, cocktails, and cookies, and I actually set them down face down on my grid paper, kind of arranged them a little bit offset, and then I just picked them up with my block. And then I was able to stamp all over and emboss with clear embossing powder. And I did that ahead of time just to save a little bit of time. So once that's done, then we're going to do some brayering. So I'm going to bring in a little pad and one of the Stampin' Up! Brayers, and then I'm going to be using Bermuda Bay Ink. So let me just open that up, set it up here. And then these little sponges can be taken out and washed. So although this one looks very stained, it's actually just being used. It's just, I must have used it for purple at one time, but I washed it and now we're using it for blue. So I'm going to ink that up. And you want to roll in a continuous roll, not like this. That way you'll get the whole roller inked up. And then I'm going to just move this out of the way a little bit so I'm in the camera properly. And then I'm just going to roll backwards and forwards over my heat embossing. And I want it darker at the bottom and then lighter at the top. So I'm just going to focus more on the bottom, and then as I get less ink on my roller, I can go towards the top. Just keep doing that till you get the desired, till it's as dark as you like. And you see, the darker you get it, the more the lettering actually stands out. Okay, that looks pretty good. So let me close up my ink and put my brayer away. And then what I like to do finally is I like to just take a clean cloth and you can take a paper towel if you like. I'm just going to wipe all over it to make sure that there's no ink still on the areas that are heat embossed. So that looks good. All right, so the next thing we need to do is to work on the mechanism. So I've got my card base here. For my card base, I'm using a Early Espresso card base, and what it is, it's just a piece of cardstock that's cut in half. So it's 11 by 4 1/4, and that's going to go on there like that. Then you want to take your circle. Now, I had an old Stampin' Up! Circle die set that unfortunately they don't sell anymore, and it had a nice big circle in it. But you can, let's see, where's my ruler? This circle is, so our current die sets don't have any circles quite this big. This one is about maybe like 3.5, between 3.5 and about 3 5/8 in diameter. So if you have a circle cutter, or if you have a set of larger circle dies, you can use those. Or you can just look for something in your house, you know, like a mug or a saucer or something that you could draw around. And then what you also want to do is you want to die cut one out of copy paper or printer paper, and you're going to fold it in half and then half again so that you can find the center of the circle. And then let me bring back in my pad here. You're going to just poke a hole in the center. I've got my take your pick tool, so we're just going to line that up and then poke a hole right in the center like that. Okay, just set that to one side. All right, then the next step, and of course that piece that we folded in quarters can be used over and over again. You can see I've used it a few times. We need three circle dies, and what I'm using is I'm using the layering circles, and I'm using the three smallest, none of the scalloped ones, just the plain three smallest circles. And I need the middle one to make the hole where the images are going to show. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just line up the circle pretty close to the bottom of the card and all the way on the right to the edge of the card base. I like to have it sticking out a little bit, makes it a bit easier to turn, sticking out beyond this embossed panel. So when you've got it positioned right, then we're going to take this circle, the middle circle of the three that I have, and you want it right at the top where we've got to fit four circles, four images on here, so you want to put it right near the top. If you use a smaller circle, you can do that and just do 3 images instead of 4. And then I'm going to take some of this tape and let's see. And then you'll see why I'm going to do this. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to, and I'm also going to, while this is like this, I'm going to make a little mark on here where I'm going to cut out the little piece where the wheel shows. So I'm just going to kind of go across like this. Doesn't have to be perfect. Make a little pencil mark. Then with this still, I'm going to remove the card base, and with this still like this. I know this is a little fiddly, but this is the best way I could figure out how to do it. You may be able to come up with a better way. I'm going to, where I have my hole poked, I'm going to poke through again, and this time through my embossed panel. Then I need to carefully remove this part so that I can cut the circle. So that's why I have the tape like this. And then I'm also going to die cut using my smaller circle. I'm going to die cut a little half circle out of here, and then I'm also going to die cut it out of the base. So I'm going to go do that quickly, and then I will be right back. Okay, I'm back with those die cut. So you can see I've die cut the circle out of the cardstock too, just the front. So my die cut machine will ran through them both together and cut them both out at the same time. If yours doesn't, if it doesn't cut through the bottom layer, usually there's enough of an indentation where you can see where to put the die back again, or you can just cut the top layer first and then set it over the base and slip the die back in. So it's pretty easy to do. Now there's one last piece of die cutting that we need to do, and I've got, this is the piece for the front. So that is from the nested labels, stitch nested labels dies. Here they are, and I used the second from the largest. So it's this one, and just to cut out with a piece of whisper white. And we need to have the hole in here too. So this was a bit, I had to figure out how to do this. So what I did was, and you might be able to come up with another way, but what I did was I actually set it behind. We want it about kind of like this on the card. We want it to cover up the hole. So I have it kind of, let's see. Yeah, so we can see on this one, I have it kind of about like this. So what I did was, you can actually see through it on the back. So if we put it on the back where we would want it lined up, You can actually, I don't know if you can see on camera. Yeah, you can actually see it. So if I make sure that I've got it straight on the back, like this, and then I can make sure at the front that it looks good. And that way I can just draw a circle here where I need the die cut. All right, here I am back again. So I've got that one cut too, and that'll line up nicely on there. All right, so now let's work on our stamping. So what we're going to do is we need a little brad, and let's see, where's my little brads? So I just have these little ones. I'm not sure, I just had them lying around in my stash. So, and this part is going to be, the head of the brad is going to be on the front of the card, but it's going to be covered up by this label. It's going to have some dimensionals on. So don't worry about it showing. So we're just going to we need to assemble the card temporarily so that we can figure out where to put our images. So you're going to put the brad from the front through and then open the brad up. Then we're going to take our pencil again and we need to draw our 4 circles where the images are going to go. So just with a light pencil, just going to draw around, and then you're going to move your wheel. Let me pan it a little bit so that you can hopefully see what I'm doing. You're going to move your wheel, I don't know if you can even see the pencil line, hopefully you can, until the pencil line just disappears. And then you're going to do your next one. And then again, move the wheel just till the pencil line disappears, and the same for the other 2. Okay, so now we've got our 4 circles, we're going to take it apart again. Like that. My circles are a bit off, but that's okay, it'll be fine, no one's going to know. So now we're going to stamp our images, and don't forget, when you're using photopolymer stamps, you always want to have a little bit of cushion underneath. You don't need it with rubber stamps because their cushioning is built in. So I'm using black Memento ink, and I'm going to start with, so you want the circle, we're going to start with this circle, and I'm going to let's bring in my stamps, have them all mounted already. So I'm going to do my cup at the top, and put this right in here, and the steam. I'm not sure how I managed to get them crooked like that, but hopefully it won't matter. So some little bit of steam coming out the top. It's not all going to show, but some of it will. And then I'm going to rotate it, and I'm going to do the cookie. Let's see how I want this. I'm going to do it this way around, kind of in the middle of the circle, if you can. We're going to erase the pencil lines, those won't show. So no one will know if it's right in the middle of the circle or not. Then we will rotate it again. And this time we're going to do the cocktail. Now when you do the cocktail, you don't want to stamp up the stand, the base of the glass, because it'll show through, it's too long, and it'll show through when you're looking at the cup. You'll see the base. So when you ink it up, it's quite easy just to take your ink pad, oops, hopefully I didn't get too much there, and just ink up the top part. So we'll do this like that, and then the last one is the chocolates. And I'm going to do mine to the left a little bit just because my circle is kind of off there. Hopefully it'll be all right. And the chocolates don't quite fit in, so I'm going to just kind of center them between these other 2 images, and hopefully that'll work okay. Hopefully that'll be all right. All right, let's put our Memento and our stamps to one side. Now we need to colour them in, but I'm going to erase the pencil lines. Okay, there we go. I smudged, apparently the ink wasn't quite dry. I smudged it a little bit here and I have a smudge there, but I don't think anyone will really notice. All right, let me bring in my blends and we'll do some colouring. Now there are stamps that come with it to stamp inside, but I actually find it easier to use the blends on them, and that way I don't have to worry about getting them lined up. So for my cup, I'm going to use Pool Party Light and Dark, and I'm just going to do a little bit of simple shading. But before I do that, I'm going to grab the Soft Suede Light, and I'm just going to draw in some coffee right here. So it looks like there's coffee in the cup. There we go. And then I'm going to do the dark first, and I'm just going to do the sides. I want to kind of create the image of it being round with light in, a round cup with the light in the middle. So I'm just doing the dark down the edges, a bit of a dark along the top there, and then I'm going to come in with the light, and I'm using the brush tip and just do little circle motions to kind of blend that out. And then I'm just going to do a quick swipe really light across the front, and to kind of give the image of some light and shading there. All right, for the cookie, I'm going to do that using Soft Suede Light. You could do crumb cake too, but I need to get new crumb cake blenders. Mine have run out of ink, or they run out of ink, my crumb cakes, so I'm going to get some new ones. All right, for the cocktail, I'm going to use Granny Apple Green light on the, I'm going to imagine this is a piece of lime. And then I'm going to do dark for the rind. She doesn't look much darker than the light, but if I go over it a couple of times. And then for the umbrella, I'm going to do Calypso Coral Dark. I'm going to use the pen end for this, just because it's a kind of a smaller image. And for the glass itself, I'm actually going to I'm going to see if I can make it look like a, what is that drink? It has the orange juice, Tequila Sunrise. Oops, what happened to my nib's gone a bit weird. So I'm going to do some Calypso Coral at the bottom, and I'm going to blend it up with Mango Melody Light. I'm going to have like a Tequila Sunrise, sort of, maybe. Maybe we can do a little bit of Calypso Coral Light in there too. Let's see. Oh yeah, blend it out a bit. It's my Tequila Sunrise, and I'll just use a little bit of blue on the bottom here. I don't know if that's even going to show, but. And then for the chocolates, I'm going to use the Soft Suede again. I'm going to do a little tiny bit of, the dark is really dark on this, so I'm going to just do a little bit of shading, maybe kind of around the bottom. And then I'm going to just blend in the lights. You don't even have to worry about the shading if you don't want it. You can just color everything in really simply. If you don't have blends, you can use your Stampin' Right markers, or you can use the images that come in the stamp set. All right, our colouring is all done. So now we need to reassemble the card. and attach it to the base. So our brad is still in the front. I'm going to poke the brad back through the, sometimes it's a bit hard once it's been open already once. It's hard to get it to close up again. So we're going to poke it back through the hole here. There we go. And then we can give it a test run. See if it works okay. Woo! Fun, fun, fun. All right, let's attach it to the card base. So for that, we want it to sit up a little bit so that the wheel will turn properly. So I'm actually going to use our strips that we have. These are called what are they called? Foam adhesive strips. So I'm going to use these, and I'm going to stick them all the way around. And you don't want them to get them too close to the wheel because you don't want to inhibit the wheel moving. But you don't want to make sure that it's going to be raised up. So I'm just going to do that. I grab my scissors, and I'll speed the camera up so you don't have to speed the video up so you don't have to watch me do it all. I'm going to put a little tiny piece in here, but again, don't get too close to the wheel. A little bit here. Oops, sorry, I'm getting off camera a bit. And the same the other side. And then I like to stick a little bit around both sides of the wheel here, just to make sure it's raised up. Like that. We'll just stick this piece in there for good measure. All right, let me take off the backings and then we'll attach it to the card base. Okay, I think I've got them all, so let's take our card base and we'll attach it. I'm going to have to stand up so I can make sure I get it on straight. Okay. Right, and the wheel sticks out a little bit, but that's fine. It makes it, it's overhanging the front panel, but it's almost lined up with the card base. It just makes it a little bit easier to turn. So that's working well. Now we just need to put our front piece on, and you see how it's going to cover up the brad. And we're going to put some dimensionals on here. So let's do our stamping for this. So I'm going to grab my stamp apparatus, and I've got my stamps already lined up in here. And so this, it's quite convenient. This little tip here fits right in kind of where the first hinge part is. So let's check and see if we've got them lined up all right. Yes, this one needs to be quite low so that it doesn't get in the way of the hole. And then I'm going to use Early Espresso ink. And I like to do this in the Stamparatus because what I find with photopolymer stamps when they're kind of fine ones like this is if you push them too hard, you get them distorted and they kind of look blurry and not so good. So I like to do them in the Stamparatus. That way I can stamp them over a couple of times or even 3 times till I'm happy with the image and not press too hard. But I can just do them, 2 or 3 times till I'm happy. And I get a nice, clean, crisp image with no distorting. I hope that hasn't moved. Oh, we're good. So the bottom part looks all right, but the top one that's closer to the hinge needs to be pressed a little bit harder. That looks pretty good. Now what I did on the card that I showed you at the beginning, I actually heat embossed. That's the other nice thing about doing this in the Stamparatus, is I wiped this clean and then inked it up with the Versamark and used embossing powder over the top. But just for the sake of time, I'm not going to do that today, but you can do it when you make yours. So let's put this to one side. I might have to put a little embellishment or something on there to cover up that boo-boo. So now I just need some regular dimensionals. Let me grab those. And I just need to make sure that I don't put one kind of the bottom center of the circle, because that's where my brad is. so that should be good. So let's take the backings off these. All right, then we're just going to line up this over the top of the hole and over the brad, just like that. Perfect. And then I've got one last thing to do. With those three circle dies, you're probably wondering, get all this tape out of the way, you're probably wondering when I use the third one. Well, what I did was I took the largest two, and they layer together perfectly, and if you put them on your die cut machine like this on some cardstock, you can just cut out a thin circle like this. I have two. I have Pool Party and Bermuda Bay. I thought I'd see which one I liked best. So let's see. On this one I did Pool Party. So I think I'll do Bermuda Bay on this, and then we can see which one we like best. So I just need a little bit of liquid glue. And we'll just put that over here. Hopefully it's not going to go over it's almost going to go over my stamp, but I just made it. So anyway, it's not quite as good as the one that I had made earlier, but you know what it's like doing videos. Things never seem to go quite as you intend. But anyway, so it all works. We're good in business. So let me show you one other one that I made. I made this one also. So this one I used a different sentiment. I put today is a coffee, chocolate, cocktail, cookie kind of day. And then there's a stamp that says, and I'm pretty sure tomorrow will be too. So I'm going to put that in the inside. I haven't finished the insides of these cards yet, but I'm going to do that. So there's all three. There's the one, let's put that one to one side, the one we made today, because it's got the smudge on it. But anyway, there's the other two that I made. So let me pan it out just a little bit so you can see them. So I hope you'll give these a try. They're, you know, they take a little work, but I think they're really fun to do and not so hard once you know how. So I hope you'll give them a try, and thanks so much for joining me, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.